Getting started with the first common macro mistake, we have fighting too often. The reason why this is such a dangerous mistake to make is because it can create a variety of problems, such as falling behind in farm or lack of farming. By fighting unnecessarily, you will lose waves that will end up dying to the guardians or walkers due to not being cleared since a fight was going on. It could also cause you to not clear the neutral jungle camps as efficiently, which in turn will harm your soul income as well. Ignoring important neutral objectives such as the urn or mid-boss. Oftentimes, these random fights that break out over the course of a game will kind of happen out of nowhere, and that causes people to get distracted and run over to the fight without stopping to think, why are we fighting? So the next time you mindlessly run at the first enemy you see, just think why. If you can't find an answer, you know it's a route. Lastly, it makes the game more volatile, leading to either throwing a lead or securing a loss. The fact of the matter is that team fights can be unpredictable due to the multitude and factors in Deadlock that are impossible for anyone to calculate, no matter if you're ahead or behind. If your main goal is to win the game, why would you want to take any unnecessary risks that could possibly throw the game away? A good example of this would be sieging the enemy base for no real reason. All it takes is the enemy team winning the fight with the advantage they have, being in base, and they can go grab mid-boss for free, and all of a sudden the game is flipped on its head. In general, when trying to win the game, make sure to take fights with a purpose, and don't just run it down at the first sight of an enemy on the map every time. The second common macro mistake I'm going to go over is uncertainty on when the correct time to do mid-boss is. There are three things in my opinion you should consider when it comes to deciding to do mid-boss. The first is the strength of the enemy team in the present moment. This can be gauged based on who is alive or dead on the enemy team, as well as just how many souls they have, or what items or actives they have that could potentially stop you taking mid-boss. The second thing I like to consider is the ultimates on both teams. There are many key ultimates that can help secure or steal a mid-boss, particularly AoE ults such as Infernus, Seven, Haze, as well as utility ults like Calvin ult. And the last thing I like to consider is how much time do you need or have. You should know a rough estimate of how fast your team can DPS the mid-boss, as well as how long it will take for the enemy to be able to contest, or if they are even able to contest at all. Let's say, for example, the team has two 30-second death timers. If your team is able to DPS the mid-boss within, let's say, 35 to 40 seconds, I would say you are fairly safe to contest the mid-boss, because they're going to be getting to the mid-boss literally very, very last second, and their teammates will actually most likely have to contest earlier than they would like, which could force a bad fight and leave you guys more than likely able to wipe them and while still securing it. Lastly for this section, I want to note that people are way too passive when it comes to doing the mid-boss. The second that all three of these factors check out roughly, you should be immediately calling for mid-boss. It's a great way to speed up your games and prevent massive throws from happening, since the mid-boss won't be spawning for a pretty long time. I believe if I had to guess, it's around 5 or 6 minutes. I don't know for sure. But that means that if you were to, say, lose a fight, the enemy team can't just get mid-boss for free, which means you are much, much safer as long as the mid-boss is off the map. So making sure you just get it off the map so there's no way you could throw a game, or the enemy could end the game if let's say you're behind, is very, very valuable. The third and final most common macro mistake players make in Deadlock is not conceding what is lost. What I mean by this is oftentimes people will look to make plays out of desperation or even delusion, and they'll basically just crash out and be like, no, there's no way I can be losing, I have to win the game. And things like this can include lanes, and this is either, oh, let's say you had a trash matchup, or it's just not your day, or you did something stupid. Make sure you don't keep non-stop trading and dying over and over. Only be aggressive in the most advantageous moments for you once you're behind. For example, let's say the enemy team used all their cooldowns and missed them all, and now you have your cooldowns and you can just free trade into them, and you won't really get punched too much. And if you're really, really behind, I would not recommend fighting at all and just try and defend your Guardian as best as possible. And some items that are good for playing safe in the lane phase, I would say extra regen is a lot better than healing right, because if the enemy's aggressive, they can just walk on your tower and hit you one time during your healing right, and now it's useless. And with extra regen, you just permanently have very high regen now, so I like to buy extra regen instead when I'm really behind. The second thing this can include is fights, and we all know the one dude that was farming a camp during the whole fight that walks in 10 years late and just dies for nothing. If that happens to be you, then do not die and stagger. Regroup and try to salvage whatever situation you are left with as best as you can in a safe manner. Lastly, I have objectives. Let's say, for example, you're trying to turn in the urn and you have 5 people surrounding the urn, while your team has 3 people on the other side of the map. At that point, there really isn't anything you can do, and you shouldn't try and force it, since that will just end up giving the enemy team a DoorDash delivery of an urn. Alright, and that is it for the 3 most common macro mistakes I see that people make in Deadlock. I'd appreciate a like and subscription. I am just making a new channel. I'm going to try and get better at commentary and all that. And yeah, be ready for future vids. See ya.